Welcome to another episode of Ally Partner TV. I am your host, Dr. Mario Torres Leon, founder of Ally Partner and creator of the Ally Partner TV show. Today, we continue on what now has become a tradition here in the show, which is the HPS or the Human Power Series. When I first started this series of the Human Power Series, there was one intention of something that became extremely evident to me over the past 30 plus years of being in medicine, and is truly what the human power is. And this is something that has become extremely evident, particularly in the time that we have been participating with people from all over the world in the Ally Partner community. Today, I am honored and blessed to be sharing with all of you a very special guest. And a special guest not only because of her life trajectory, which she will be sharing with all of us, but also a special guest because she is somebody who has honored us with her presence in one of our experiential courses, the most recent edition of the 28-day Gratitude Launchpad, which we also call in short GL28. Today, I have the pleasure of having with me and with all of us Miss Rieko Yamanaka. And Rieko lives here in the United States. She is of Japanese origin and heritage. And I am going to let her tell us a little bit about her background and just let this conversation unfold. And as we go, we'll figure out all the amazing synchronicities and beauty that comes in this conversation. I am really excited to be sharing her with all of you because her life journey has taken her to the point of also being in the healthcare space and being a healer and doing a lot of work in that space, and also being the creator of her own podcast. I have had the experience to listen to some of her episodes. So I am coming from a place of not just knowing that she does this, but rather, just like I do with every single guest, of really exploring their work and feeling very strongly about introducing their work to our community because I stand behind what they're doing. So it's special in many fronts. So Rieko, thank you for your generosity. Thank you for being here with us today and gifting us with your presence and your time to share your life journey with the Ally Partner community. Welcome to the Human Power Series.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Mario. I'm getting tears in my eyes and also butterflies in my stomach. My whole being is feeling all sorts of emotions in this moment. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. I'm so happy to be here. So where do I even start? What was coming up so strongly for me today is the magic and the miracle of me even being here talking to you and speaking to people watching when in my background earlier in my life, there was so much of fear of expression, so much fear of rejection and isolation. Some of it perhaps came from the experience of being bullied as a child. Some of it maybe came as an experience of growing up in a household with very traditional, I would say Asian, because I know a lot of my Asian brothers and sisters experience similar situations of very high expectations out of good intention. So there was a constant story of I'm not good enough running in the background for much of my life. And I was trying so hard to prove myself that I was worthy by putting myself into studies. So I was born in Japan, but I grew up in the States and learning to speak another language and becoming fluent in it and excelling my schoolwork and trying to get into a good school. Like I did all of that. And at some point I realized that there must be something more than this. And so around the time in high school, I found my way into spirituality through this book called The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield, which talked about synchronicities, which talked about how there are so many things happening in the invisible. There's a higher power at work and that we're all part of it. And that was my first introduction to the spiritual path. And so And around that same time, I also started to discover my love of dance and movement. So I went to college wanting to be a dancer. I pursued a career in dance for all my 20s. And so side by side, I was pursuing spiritual practice and dance, kind of weaving in and out of the human experience and the as we Dr. Mara and I had talked about a little bit before this interview of this idea that there's like something out there greater up there that's more spiritual, more expansive. And so long story short, I moved through some careers pursuing different opportunities and dance, and then afterwards in design and creative work, art, and doing my best to implement and practice the spiritual principles that I was learning. But there was still a disconnect. There was still a disconnect. And there were a couple of things that I was been blessed with in my life that brought me closer and closer to where I am today. And the first one was my teacher, Jennifer Hadley, who is a Course in Miracles teacher. And I took a year-long masterclass with her, which really taught me to make spiritual practice my way of life instead of a part-time thing that I do when I'm on the yoga mat or when I'm sitting on the meditation cushion. It's like an ongoing day-to-day thing, and that my daily life, my day-to-day mundane existence, all of the human experience, from like waking up and brushing my teeth to getting, a matcha latte at a coffee shop to all of that is part of the practice. It's not just when I'm sitting on that meditation cushion and being blissful and peaceful. And so when it became my internal purpose to let everything that triggers me, every judgment, every fear, every negative emotion that comes up be something that's here to be seen and loved and released, and that there is no one who is separate from me. There is nothing that's outside of me, that all of life is happening for me, and really started to make an active commitment to experience my life that way, to see my life that way, to do my best to choose love over fear in any given situation. My life really started to shift from the inside out. And so the big shift started to happen around 7, 8 years ago. And since then, there's always like layers of the onion that we peel back on our spiritual growth journey. So my practice, my journey has been lots of ups and downs, lots of new things coming up for healing, more expansion, some contraction, more expansion. And so fast forward, about a month and a half ago, I had the honor of joining Dr. Mario's GL28 program. And I came to it through my good friend, Tina Marie Bertoli. And when Tina first told me about the program, my first honest reaction was, well, gratitude, I've been there, done that. I've been practicing gratitude for a long time. I'm not sure if I need this course.
Another course. Oh my gosh. Who needs that?
I know. But I love and respect Tina so much. And she was raving about the shift and the expansion that she was experiencing through this course. So I was naturally very curious. And so I joined, and I'm so glad that I did. I had no idea what to expect. I went in without any expectation. I had never seen you or heard of you, Dr. Mario, at that point. I didn't know who my teacher was going to be, but Tina said it was going to be great. So I was like, okay, I'm in. And that first group call, the kickoff call where you led us, I was like, oh, my jaw dropped. I was blown away by this beautiful space that you create and hold for us, and your sincerity and generosity in offering this. And God, it's hard to describe in words, but you could feel it when you're in somebody's presence that this person's walking their talk, that this is not just them teaching something that they know in the head. This is someone living this and sharing this from the heart. And I was so grateful in that very moment that I had decided to join. And even though I had a lot of resistance to recording myself on video and sharing on video and posting it on Facebook group, I felt really called to just give myself that chance to experience this as fully as I could and see where it takes me. So, gosh, I did my best to record a video share every day for 28 days. Some days I missed here and there, but I think I kept up pretty well. And so the power of this program was a combination of so many things. First, to start off with the space that you create for us, Dr. Mario, but also what's being taught in Rhonda Byrne's book, The Magic, and all the practices that she introduces in that of saying thank you to different aspects of our life. It was that community of each time I posted my video, I was doing it not knowing how it's going to be received, not knowing if anybody's going to even watch it. Um, Sometimes I felt so vulnerable on the video. I've broken down in tears on the video. Um, and I was like, can I really post this? Is it okay to post this? But something in me says that it's okay to do it. So I kept posting, and I would receive the most loving, supportive
Mm,
reactions and comments from the community. And I would also see my community, fellow community members, brothers and sisters posting their experiences, their shares, and being so courageous and vulnerable and honest. And God, this really that sense of safety that we co-created in that virtual space of Facebook of all places. It was a private group, but all the ideas we have about social
mm,
media. It was such a marvelous example of how technology, social media, anything can be used with the intention of bringing us closer together and opening our hearts rather than the opposite. Um, and it was so eye-opening, Dr. Mario. I think you mentioned it on the last call of that cycle that we did together, of how technology is often talked about as something that's, making us farther apart, disconnecting. And yet, I would have never been able to have this GL28 experience without technology, without the internet, without Facebook, without Zoom. And even though there's nothing more powerful for me than gathering in person, having this virtual connection and community is can be so mind-blowingly powerful. And I'm just so blown away and so very grateful for the whole experience and how much I feel more in harmony with myself.
mm,
And even when the darkness, the heaviness, the negative emotions come up, I I can more easily just welcome it, relax my body and welcome it in my body and feel it in my body and breathe and be present with it. And just know that it's okay to feel whatever I'm feeling.
mm,
And that is such a very different way of life than how I used to live, I know, in so much contraction and self-judgment about everything and anything that I was thinking and feeling. And the beauty of this too is that when we let ourselves welcome and embrace that shadow side of us, the the opposite, the happiness, the joy, the playfulness also gets amplified. It also gets freed up. It's that the resistance to the happiness, which I didn't even know I had until recently. There was so much resistance to joy. And that resistance is also softening. So I'm able to, I'm experiencing myself in more outbursts of joy as I do my morning walk and like starting skipping or singing or um, just allowing that happiness to also come through. so my life just feels more richer, more more alive, more vibrant. And yeah, it's just, I have no words for the gratitude I'm feeling for you, Dr. Mario, and this program, this experience that I got to have with you and everybody in the community. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I am so blown away by everything you're sharing and so grateful. Um, in this last couple of sentences that you uttered, you're talking about joy, aliveness, bounciness, jumping, dancing. You mentioned all those words. And as I was listening to you, what came into my field of awareness is how much we get bombarded by all sorts of different marketing pieces, whether it's written press or TV or so on, about buy this, drink that, eat this, to actually have those things that you were talking about. And it still brings something to the forefront in a super compelling way, which is this notion of externalizing or outsourcing things that can only emanate from the inner. And the access key that you further explored, experienced, developed, because you're already on a journey that started many years ago, and it got, let's say, maybe amplified, enhanced, opened in a different way. Uh, I think it would be extremely pedantic to say just because you did this, now you're this way. I mean, I don't subscribe to that. I think in a state of humility, life is always unfolding, and we see things differently when our perspective changes by virtue of whatever allowed us to just tilt the angle to see the light, or allow the light to come in a different way, or for light to be reflected from within us in a different way. So it's a continuum. It's layers that get revealed along the way. And sometimes certain experiences can be catalysts. They can accelerate the going from point A to point B. Perhaps as you share it, this experience of GL28 supported you in expediting some of those areas, or perhaps experiencing them differently, for you to now experience yourself with this degree of joy and expansion that you're kindly sharing with all of us. But it really comes back, like I was saying, to this point of the inner sourcing and tapping into what's here. And I'm going to invite you, Rieko, to speak to this, if you would, please, and continue to be generous like you've been with us. One of my biggest awarenesses I've had in my life, which I share inside of my work in the Alive Partner community, came through my meditation practice, and which I really believe, in my experience, to be a large missing link. Certainly had been in my life, and clearly has been in the lives of many people who've already been served through what we do in the community, which is this aspect of there is a lot of energy that gets invested by the spiritual seeking piece of life, which I am completely aligned with. But what I struggled personally with was being able to have that experience on an ongoing basis, and being reproducible, and being able to call in from that place to serve my life so that I could show up fully in my life, be in a state of love in my life, in a state of harmony, be a better husband, be a more realized father, son, friend, physician, all of the above. And I didn't know how to tap into that. And in one of my meditation practices, I had an awareness some years ago about this aspect of the feeling body. And I couldn't escape my experiences as a physician and a lot of the things that I have seen at very close range in human beings. And what became so evident to me was this aspect of we were, certainly I was, actively neglecting my own experiences, my feeling body. Firstly, because I didn't know how to name the feelings and emotions. I didn't have a language for them, which, and all of that got compounded by the fact that I'm a man gender wise. So men don't tend to gravitate to have an emotional language as much as women do, typically. Granted, there's exceptions to everything in life, but clearly for me that was true. That held true. Uh, and secondly, as I developed a language to assign words to my emotions, I still had a missing link, which was where are they in my body? And I've done a lot of work, for over 30, almost 40 years. I've gone to courses. I have met the gurus. I have, many people. I've done a lot of work, but I didn't have that. And in one of my meditations, I had the awareness of like, hold on, but when I feel anger, for example, I use this example a lot. For me, for Mario, I have this sensation of somebody like grabbing, like a fist, and just grabbing my chest and squeezing it. And it's just really painful, this state of contraction and pain. And it just consumes me. And it sometimes radiates to the left part of my neck. And every time that I would feel that anger, that's exactly how it would be in my body. And I started to really dig deeper into that about other areas of my body and what the emotions were and where they were. And it would always be the same thing. And then I started to ask people about, when you feel this way, what do you feel? And people saying, I don't know. I was like, well, think about it for a second. And then I started to realize, hold on, there is a feelings and emotional map that is unique to every single human being. While you and I may have certain emotions that, as we may verbalize them, they go to the same place anatomically. If we had 100 people in the room, there's going to be a significant spread, a distribution of where things are in each person's body. It's not the same. But what was remarkable for me, beyond that, was the fact that those things, those emotions and feelings always go back to the same spot for the most part until you get to transcend them because you've really worked towards embracing them to such a degree that they simply stop coming back. And then I started to really dig even deeper in my experiences as a physician and going back into my memory archives of things that I have seen in over 30 years as a physician that I could not explain with my quote unquote very, very small medical knowledge. And I started to have a much deeper understanding beyond the mind that this emotional, this invisible world that you were talking about at the beginning of this conversation is always playing a role. And I know that that concept is not new. But what was new for me was to be able to start putting together this aspect of the body map that allowed me to connect with the brain, the mind, and then I started to experience spiritual experiences by being able to create that connection, and that became reproducible. And I'm like, hold on, that's different. And that was scary when it started to happen. And I said, this is something that, as I saw it more and more, I need to really start speaking about it. Can you speak to Rieko? Because I know you've had your spiritual journey, and if you would really share, was there an aha moment for you when you started to really integrate the soul map work, this body map work that I teach, and what did that do to all that trajectory, which was really powerful and beautiful for you in your life's journey? Is this resonating?
Yeah, absolutely. So the the first moment that comes to mind is something I shared in the GL28 experience, as well as on my podcast, actually, of I had a phone call that I had to make to my dentist to settle a bill. And the bill was pretty large for Rieko. And but I went in with the best intentions of experiencing this with ease and let there be a higher solution for all of this. And so I'm on the phone with the receptionist, and they tell me that, oh, your bill is actually out of date. You actually owe like 20% more.
Oh no.
And and in that moment, I felt this burning sensation welling up right on my throat in the front of my neck right here. And I remember so clearly, even as I was experiencing that and feeling that, I was going ding, 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 ding. I see it. I see exactly where I feel it in my body. This emotion of fear, uh, of feeling threatened, or that this urge to go into complaining and to get defensive and ask questions like, "Why is this happening? This shouldn't be happening." Blah. I saw it so clearly. It was right up in front of my throat. And that awareness helped me take a breath and pause and practice exactly what we are practicing in GL28, which is, can I find something to be grateful for here? Can
Yes.
I, can I, even as I'm feeling this fully, this burning sense of fear and feeling attacked and threatened, can I breathe, let it be there, and also invite something else in? And so I
Mm.
was able to move into how grateful I was to this dental team, for doing such an amazing job with my filling. I had gone to two other dentists prior to that, and each time the filling just came right off like shortly after. And this has been so well done. The hygienist there is amazing. She's so precise and gentle, and I had the best dental cleaning experience of my life with her. Everyone there is so kind and caring, and wouldn't it be wonderful that I get to support their business with this money that I'm paying? And I was genuinely able to go to that place of being grateful and forget about the amount, forget about how I'm going to pay for that, and just be in gratitude in that moment. So that was a very profound moment where the practice and awareness and your teaching of the SOMAP was so helpful in it gave me a foundation, a language for me to um, validate and embrace my experience fully, knowing that this is energy moving. This is just energy moving. I'm not threatened by it. I'm just feeling it. And that I can also, when I breathe and take that pause, I can I can make a choice of surrendering to that and moving into gratitude.
That's incredibly powerful. Thank you for sharing that. You know, something that has been remarkable to witness and is so humbling is to see when our community members who come from a wide range of backgrounds, cultures, people from all over the world who've been on really beautiful, powerful personal journeys, journeys of struggle, redemption, journeys of very challenging illnesses and diagnosis to healing. To see them come in with certain expectations about what's going to happen, right? I think that to your point earlier, uh, we are so bombarded with the next course and the next thing and the next book, and you have to do this and you have to do that. It's really overwhelming, isn't it? And then somebody comes in and is like, oh, you have to do this thing about saying thank you, and your life is going to be so much better now. Uh, I always like to say, in all truth, about my experience with this work. I'm currently transitioning now to my 45th cycle, uninterrupted cycle. And for those of you who are joining us, you've been watching another episode of the Human Power series here in Life Partner TV with my very special guest, Miss Rieko Yamanaka. And we've been talking about her life journey and how everything has been enhanced and changed and so on with having experienced the 28-day Gratitude Launchpad. And one of the things that happens when people come in, as I was saying, Rieko, I tell them about when I first did this experience and the inspiration for this, as you know, I share it openly, was Rhonda Byrne's book, The Magic. Rhonda Byrne is the author of the book, and she's very well known in some circles for her work with The Secret and bringing to a much larger audience, a broader audience, the work of the law of attraction and so on. And as it turns out, when I went through my first cycle, I like to say that I was dipping my toes. I would do some days, and it was very half-ass, and that is exactly how I did it. Well, this sounds kind of cool. I'm going to try this and that, and and then the perfectionist in me at the time was like, well, you really can't say that you did this well because you really didn't. So you got to try it again. But what really incentivized more than the perfectionist in me and really serving the ego from that place uh, was the fact that there were some things happening in my life as a product. I didn't know it at the time of having started to do the work, the aspect of gratitude and going beyond the superficial thank you and all of that, which as I came to understand, not to undermine what a thank you is really more of a cultural politeness or maybe a family ingrained politeness. And I said, you know what? I really want to do this a second time around, but I want to be more consequential with it. I want to be more compliant with it. So the perfectionist was still playing a part there, but there was still a part of honesty within me that wanted to really give it a try as it should have been on the first time around. And then during that cycle, more things, let's call them synchronicities or the lucky moments were happening. And I'm like, I don't know. I think there's something to this. And then that led to a third, to a fourth, to a fifth. And then at one point, shortly thereafter, it was very clear to me this is no luck. There's some really, really powerful things happening. And then as I was already starting to incorporate the work of the soul map and the feeling body map and so on, I started to integrate the two initially, not by design. Many things we kind of like, quote unquote, stumble upon them. Your awareness may not be open up enough. The field may not be, you may not be as sensitive to your field as you can until things start to really make sense from here. But it's a much larger experience that is really happening to the point that I have come to call it, as you know, Rieko, I call it gratitude plus feeling equals healing. And for all of you who are watching this episode of the Human Power series and you may be new to this work, thank you for your generosity in being here with us and being my companion as I welcome today Rieko Yamanaka in this conversation. This completely changed the game for me. Changed the game for me as a human, as a physician, as somebody in the mind-body medicine space, as somebody who had done a lot of work over more than 3 decades. It completely changed my perspective of all of it. And I, to this day, with tremendous respect for so many modalities that are available to all of us, and whatever the tool is for you, that really works for you, embrace it, because there is, as I like to say, there is as many ways to do life as the number of people on the planet. So that gives us at least 8.3 billion ways. There's not just one way to arrive at something that works for you. That would be extremely arrogant. But what I have come to really embrace and share to serve my audience is that there's a lot to be said between the power of gratitude and the power of the feeling body that really unleashes the healing. And when I say healing, Rieko, as you know, I am not referring to the fact that you may have cancer and now you're healed, or maybe you have an aching heart from a very difficult emotional traumatic, as you or anybody might have experienced it, and now it's gone because of that. It really refers to the transformational aspect of life, the transcendence aspect, right? Going from one place to another. So when I use the word healing, I'm really employing it in a broad sense that is really applicable in many domains of life. How did that speak to you, Rieko, as you were experiencing that and really reflecting in your prior journey, as before you arrived into this, and the things that continue to happen and unfold for you after being exposed to that perspective?
Mm. So the first thing that comes to mind is how I had a practice of gratitude and writing gratitude lists in my journal prior to this program, but I was not really taking the time to really feel the energy of gratitude as I write those
Mm.
lists. I was kind of just writing them down and kind of done. I did my gratitude list done. But this program invited me to really feel the energy of gratitude. What does that feel like in my body? I feel a sense of lightness. Uh, my kind of like a little bit of a good butterflies in my stomach a little bit right now, or like a warmth or a very gentle tingling in my fingertips. And to really drink that in instead of just saying it as an exercise. Um, the feeling part makes it exponentially more powerful for me.
Mm.
First of all, that I get to experience the effect of it physically in that very moment, um, which was a which was a missing piece, I think, in the prior gratitude practices. Not that I never felt gratitude through that, but this really deepened it tenfold, hundredfold. And the other piece that was healing for me through this experience was the gratitude in advance, the manifestation piece, which for the longest time I used to judge as not very spiritual. Coming from, if you're listening and if you're a Course in Miracles student, maybe you will relate, because there's a heavy emphasis on this world is temporary, it's ephemeral, it's an illusion, and your happiness only comes from within, which is all still very true for me. But the spiritual ego was hijacking that to say, well, like, yeah, you have a roof over your head and your clothes, but like that's not where your happiness comes from. So like don't be grateful for that. And it's so funny to talk about that, but that was true. And through this invitation to express gratitude for the small things, the big things, small things just as much as the big things, I realized, this whole time I thought there was this physical experience that's outside of me, that's physical, that's human, and then there's like the spiritual realm where I'm where my true identity is. So this is not my true identity. So, but my real self is somewhere out there. But I realized, oh no, it's all the same. It's all here. It's all here. And like my life, my seemingly mundane human existence as Rieko, the laptop that's allowing me to speak to Dr. Mario right now, this microphone, this roof over my head, the breakfast I got to enjoy this morning, like all of that is actually part of the oneness. And gosh, another moment of that intellectual understanding coming in to the body and becoming a felt experience of the physical and the spiritual, and all connecting, really connecting together instead of it being this concept in my head. And if I really, really feel into it, how miraculous it is that everything is being orchestrated, even the tiniest thing, down to the tiniest thing in my life, that so many people and beings and creatures and energies had to work together to give me this experience, bless me with this experience of washing my hands in the sink, of washing the dishes, going for a walk, like every seemingly mundane tasks and activities that I used to dismiss as, not necessarily spiritual or interesting, is coming more alive because there's there's a felt experience of the energy and the internet connectedness of all things. It's a little hard
Mm.
to explain, but hopefully the the energy that I'm expressing will translate.
Yes. No, that's so beautiful, and that's exactly what happened along the way in that process. Rieko, um, I want to take a couple of minutes for the audience to get to know your podcast. And I would like to invoke your generosity in sharing with us what the podcast is about, so that people can really, those who've been resonating with your work, me being one of them, they can tune in into what your work is, because I think it's beautiful work and it's definitely worth talking about.
Oh, thank you so much. So, my podcast is called When We Are Healed, and how appropriate that you just talked about healing just now, Dr. Mario, as the transformational aspect of life. And it was really inspired by this A Course in Miracles quote that says, "When I am healed, I'm not healed alone,"
Mm,
which speaks to the interconnectedness of all of us, and that when one of us experience transformation or healing of any degree, that has a rippling effect that uplifts every single being, every single person across the entire universe of time and space. And I just really love this idea, and which for me is truth, that we're on this path together, and that when one of us heals, like everyone else is healed together,
yes.
and that there's so much to be, so much that we could learn from each other's path, so much that we could receive from each other's experience when we share it. So, so the podcast is partly my solo episodes where I share the tools and practices that have been transformational for me, of seeing the challenges of the human experience differently. And then it is also inviting guests to share their own journey, their own personal journeys, and with a focus on direct experience of what's been transformational for them, what came into their life as catalysts, and how they moved through it. And so it's really a place for, I call it soul to soul conversations of our healing journey, and sharing it, and knowing that the sharing is extremely healing.
For those of you who are just joining us or you've been watching another episode of Ally Partner TV in our very special series, the Human Power Series HPS. I've been honored to have with us today a really special guest and an esteemed member of the Ally Partner community, Miss Rieko Yamanaka, who has been sharing about her life experiences, and she's also the creator of her own podcast, When We're Healed. And she just said something that is profound, that is one of the deep core values of the Alive Partner community, and is this aspect of not having to go at it alone. One of the things that it became very evident to me, despite the limitations of technology, particularly when it comes to privacy, is how do we, from a place of gratitude, be able to gather the tools that are necessary to have a truly private yet publicly accessed experience experience. and and you spoke to this in what happened in jail 28, Rieko. um, I'm just so grateful that the people that come into the container, they really understand, they feel that the intention is really to hold the space for one another truly in a sacred way, safely, privately, despite the public nature of some of these things that we're the technology that we're using to have these experiences. And what I have come to understand from a very deep level, beyond the mind, no question, is that when that intention is a foundational principle to what's being offered to the community, everybody who is resonating and aligned with that will go to whatever extent to also do the same in turn for everybody to feel that experience. And to your point, which I couldn't agree more, and I'm fully aligned with, when one person heals, the universe heals. That may seem like a really big concept, but in terms of what makes us, we're vibrational entities, we're energy, we're particles, right? So there is truly this element of seamlessness, connectedness, oneness. We've used that term already in the talk this morning. That goes way beyond just the you and the me. And it really is a we. It's really an us. It's just is. That could be a really difficult concept to grasp, but it becomes extremely ingrained in us when we get to experience healing within self because we witnessed, and we were privileged to witness healing in somebody else. And one of the biggest privileges that I get to share and be a recipient of and a beneficiary of as I create these experiences is that when people come and we're all having this, all of us, we're really healing, we're all expanding, transforming, witnessing miracles. Rieko, you've been extremely generous, and I just have one question for you, if you don't mind sharing with us. We have talked about the fact that sometimes sharing these experiences and conveying them with words for others can be challenging because they have to be experienced and felt, as I'm sincerely hoping that whoever is watching us right now is really feeling the sincerity of this conversation. I feel it all over my body. Who is GL28 or this kind of experience that we have in the Life Partner community for, in your estimation?
I would say if you've been on a spiritual path or self-growth path and feel like you've hit a ceiling or plateau, and there's something in your heart calling you to something even greater, I would say this is for you. I would also say if there's any resistance to the idea of practicing gratitude, this is the perfect perfect course for you to transform that as however way the divine will guide you. And for those who appreciate and or feel drawn to the power of community, power of having a safe space of like-minded, like-hearted people doing this with you. And I would also say that you don't have to go into it with a super strong willingness necessarily. It could be like a little curiosity. It could be a little, well, maybe I'll give this a try. And if you just let yourself experience it and follow the nudge within you, then the power within you would do the rest of the work, I'd say.
That's extremely generous. Thank you so much. Before we part, is there anything you'd like to share with our audience about you or your work that you would like people to know about what you do, Rieko?
Yeah, so again, I have a podcast called When We Are Healed. You can tune in anywhere where you could listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify. We also have a YouTube channel. And I'm offering life coaching journeys for people who are interested in not only embracing all the wonderful spiritual wisdom and practices of teachings like A Course in Miracles, non duality, but also marrying it with somatic practices, a lot of the
Mm.
feeling and emotion and energetic aspect that Dr. Mara and I talked about, and really embracing that powerful combination to deepen your experience of yourself and your life. I love holding space for people to get clarity on where they want to go in life, their vision for their life and their business, and to help them bring to their awareness anything that is blocking them, anything that is challenging them in the moment, and helping them see it differently. And it's been my honor to witness my clients move through whatever that comes up for them and blossom into a fuller, more expansive expression of themselves and doing things that they didn't think were possible before. So that is what I'm offering at the moment. So I can be found at rieko.co, RIEKOCO, if you're curious. And yeah, I look forward to meeting you somewhere, sometime. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And the links to find Rieko are here on the just below the recording, so you can actually, if this has been resonating with you and you want to explore more about Rieko's offering, I invite you to please check her work. I also want to, on a personal note about Rieko, I want to share this because at the end of the day, this episode is about the Human Power series, and there's a reason why Rieko is here. Many people who do spiritual work and they do that as a living and as a means of following their life and soul's purpose, they really come with great intentions to serve many. And I have come across a lot of those people. But the challenge, or the biggest challenge I have with a lot of that, is that I never really get to see their humanity. I only get to see their professional side of things. In this particular conversation, I have in front of us somebody who I have seen behind the scenes, not just somebody trying to give services, but somebody being human. And the degree of vulnerability and openness, rawness that this woman, whose name is Rieko Yamanaka, displays and is willing to go to be able to expand, grow, and have the humbleness and humility to be supported so that she could have the experience that she wanted to, she intended, and then some, was really remarkable. So I really have no hesitation in recommending Rieko as a professional in the services that she is offering, because I have seen that the person that you're seeing here in the camera is essentially the same person that is behind the camera. And that is a beautiful thing to watch. It's an honor. It's really humbling. And there is a tremendous commitment to the integrity of the work that she is doing and walking it. That is something that is very special, and it's worth talking about and letting people know that is real. So if watching her today has been resonating with you, my invitation for you is to please go and check her work. Tune into her podcast, subscribe to it so you can listen to what she has to offer, because everything that she's going to put out is going to come from a place of authenticity, integrity, and true honesty when she felt inspired to share it with everybody else. It has been an incredible honor to have you here today, be my guest. And I am sincerely grateful for your generosity with your time and your wisdom to share with it. And it's been truly an honor. I have been transformed and being made better because of you being in our community here in the Ally Partner community and having been a super esteemed member of our last GL28 cycle, Rieko. So I completely wish you incredible continued success in everything you're doing. You have your home here in the Ally Partner community. The people that were members within the cycle, I know they love you. The outpour of love for every time that you spoke was there. So that's not inflating what's the truth. It's the reality. And I can continue to see you participate, and when you have the time, and continue to witness your generosity and your giving nature with people and supporting everybody with your work. Today, you have been watching another episode of Ally Partner TV with Dr. Mario Torres Leon in our special series, Human Power Series, with Miss Rieko Yamanaka. Lastly, and as I like to say in every single episode before we conclude, if this has deeply resonated with you, please do us a favor and share it with the people that you care in your life. Why? Because in you sharing this episode, you may be the catalyst in somebody else's healing, somebody else's breakthrough, somebody else's miracles, and somebody else's life becoming better. And at the end of the day, you are the key and the catalyst for that experience to happen for somebody else. If you tune in for the first time in this episode, welcome to our community. And don't forget to subscribe so we can continue to communicate with you and serve you with every piece of content and tools that we share every single week with our community. Have an amazing rest of the day, and I can't wait to see you next time. So long.